Today, even if you're not a Discover customer, won't hurt your credit score. Discover.com/credit scoreboard. With that, all sorts of stuff happening in the NFL right now. We got job openings. Let's go to our friend Albert Breer, Monday morning quarterback via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network. Listen, we all know what's happening. What I think is funny in this, Albert, is all these organizations love their hires, even though they have no head coaching experience. Some are hiring people like Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, 1 year of play calling. But yet in New York, they're banging on Adam Gase. And my takeaway is, excuse me, but he got to the playoffs, beat New England a couple of times, has been hired multiple times as a coordinator. Adam Gase, to me, is the one hire I like, and it's the one getting the heat. What do you make of it?
I think it's a smart move by the Jets, honestly. This is about developing the quarterback and getting the most out of Sam Darnold, particularly while he's on his rookie contract. They got probably 3 more years of that. And to me, I look at this and I say to myself, okay, here you have a guy who has gotten career years out of Peyton Manning, Jay Cutler, Ryan Tannehill, went to the playoffs with Ryan Tannehill as a head coach, and recreated an offense on the fly in 2011 with Tim Tebow at the helm. And so if you want offensive creativity and you want a guy who can work with the quarterback, you've got that with Adam Gase. Plus you got 3 years of NFL head coaching experience. He's the only coach to bring the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs this decade. Things weren't pretty at the end. I think you have to hope he learned from being part of the discord in that organization at the very end. But there are lots of pieces to like there with the Adam Gase hire in New York.
Okay, I can't talk Darnold without Baker Mayfield. I'm a little reluctant on Freddie Kitchens. Never been a high school head coach. Only been a coordinator for 8 games. I don't think he would have gotten necessarily a coordinator job around the league. I don't like when my quarterback is learning how to be an NFL quarterback, hiring a coach who's learning how to be a head coach. I don't love this, but I was told John Dorsey wanted somebody. He didn't want Greg Williams. He doesn't want Hugh Jack. He don't want pushback, and this is John Dorsey's team. I mean, that's kind of what I feel.
Here's the key, Colin, okay? And I know, look, the fact that he ran the offense the way he did, that's a huge plus. The fact that he developed Baker Mayfield the way he did, first as his position coach, then as his coordinator, that's another huge plus. But the key word here, and remember this one, is unifier. That's the way that everyone in the building felt about Freddie Kitchens, that he could be a unifier inside that building. Even Greg Williams, as they started winning, like even him, you look at him and you say, is he going to be combative down the line? Are we going to have the problems? And then you got to roll it back and look at the history since Jimmy Haslam bought the team. The first regime he put in place, Rob Chudzinski, Mike Lombardi, Joe Banner, that blew up. The next group was Mike Pettin and Ray Farmer, that blew up. And then again, there were internal problems when you had Hugh Jackson and Sashi Brown. And so I think the quarterback part of this is important. I think the fact that he proved he could run an NFL offense over the last 8 weeks of the season, that's important too. But to me, and based on what I've heard, the most important thing here is that they projected Freddie Kitchens to be a unifier inside that building. And if you look at the problems that they've had in Jimmy Haslam's 7 years of ownership, you can understand why.
I got to address something. I think I may have talked about it with you. Antonio Brown is as gifted a wide receiver as this league has. And we have clearly, Albert, in the last year, due to rule changes, quarterback wide receiver, it has been elevated in the league. So this is a transformational talent in his prime. The Rooneys, who are patient, tolerant, and quiet, came out yesterday saying, I don't think it's going to work. I'm just going to throw a couple things at you. New England gets rolled this weekend, and they come to the conclusion, we got to give Tom help. I think Antonio Brown works in a lot of spots. You don't build around him. But, man, I can't believe somebody wouldn't trade for him, Albert. What are you hearing?
Well, I mean, first thing you got to take into account is his contract, and I'll give that to you in 2 different ways. Okay, there's 3 years and $39 million left on his contract. For most teams, that's going to make him attractive because you look at what the top receivers are making. It's somewhere between 16 and 18 million a year. Odell Beckham's in that range. Mike Evans is in that range. Sammy Watkins is in that range. And so to have Antonio Brown, presuming he'd be okay with going forward with the contract the way that it is, that'd be a very, very attractive number to a lot of teams, but not in New England. And here's the reason why. While you still have certain guys on your roster who have agreed to take less, it's very hard, and it's been historically very hard for them to take on guys who are getting paid premium prices. Look at what Tom Brady's making, about $15 million a year. Now I'm assuming they'll amend that after the year, but for right now it's $15 million a year. Gronkowski's making $10 million a year. Julian Edelman, who's been fantastic for them, is making about $6 million a year. So you look at what those guys are making, the premium guys in their roster. The salary structure in New England is completely different than it is in most other places. And so to bring in a guy like this, you'd almost have to blow up what you're doing. They wanted Brandon Cooks back, but this is the reason why they couldn't bring him back, was because to make it happen, they'd have to blow up their salary structure. And so that's why I think Antonio Brown would be a little bit of a tough fit in New England. The other thing, and Colin, you know this, over their history, New England has always bought low on these guys, whether it was Randy Moss coming in on the deal that he came in on. If you want to look at when that summer when they brought in Chad Johnson and Albert Haynesworth, they've always bought low on these guys, and that gives them a modicum of control. I think if you buy high in a guy like this, that premium number, you don't have the control over the player that New England likes to have.
So the Rams-Dallas game is intriguing. We know that Jerry Jones has said, I love me some Dak, I love Jason Garrett. We all know that. And we all know that Sean McVay is very bright and Goff is the future. But if the Rams lose this weekend, there is a little shine off Sean McVay potentially.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of went all in Los Angeles with, Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, and Ndamukong Suh. If the Rams lost this weekend, do you think it would slow down the Sean McVay coaching tree thing? And that and then, because I feel like there's this tsunami of Sean McVay rolling over the league.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it would be, I don't think it should change the way anyone looks at Sean McVay. Best point differential in the league the last 2 years, and the best record in the league over the last 2 years, tied with the Patriots and the Saints. And you look at where the Rams are coming from, Sean McVay has done a fantastic job by any measure. I also think there's a little more to what we're seeing than just Sean McVay. I know a lot of people, you can trace them back to Sean McVay and everything else. I think that this is about owners and where owners are in the league right now. And it's harder to draw a rating than it used to be. It's harder to draw a fan to a stadium than it used to be.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of owners in the league that watched that game at the end of November between the Rams and the Chiefs and pointed at the television and said, give me that. And so I think what you're seeing now is an overreach for guys that have backgrounds in those sorts of offenses. It's a little more difficult when you look at Andy Reid's tree because Doug Peterson was already picked from there. Matt Nagy was already picked from there. Whereas when you look at Sean McVay and the people that have worked with him traditionally, they're young and they came up with him. And so I think that part of this is, an owner looking at not just winning and losing, but the entertainment product and saying, I want what they've got in Kansas City and Los Angeles. And then they look at Sean McVay's tree and they say, okay, well, this guy isn't perfect. That guy isn't perfect. I think ultimately 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to find out that some of these hires were overreaches.
Yep.
But I think there's certainly an element of entertainment that goes along with the winning and losing that owners want right now.
Albert Breer, Monday morning quarterback. I mean, look, the guy is just available to us every time we call with all sorts of good stuff and information. It's going to be a great weekend. Read his stuff. Yep. I do. Senior NFL reporter. Albert, thank you so much again.
You got it, Colin.
It's funny that he brings a really interesting point is that we forget these are billionaires. None of them made their money, almost none of them, on their football team. They made their money on, now Jerry Jones was very, he was a wildcatter with oil, very big real estate, all that stuff. And a lot of Jerry's net worth is the Cowboys. But in most of these instances, don't forget this, these are owners. And owners want to sell tickets. And increasingly, the home watching experience is so good at everybody's house that you got to make the games fun. You build the smaller stadium. The new LA stadium's got it. Restaurants. Dallas has margarita stands. You go to that Cowboy game. Remember Pete Carroll said it's a nightclub.
Right.
And so that's where that's why I look at Antonio Brown. I'm like, I would take my kids to go watch Antonio Brown. He's one of 7 guys. That's why the conservative Giants signed Odell Beckham.
Oh, of course, he's a star.
And
it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win as an organization.
No, but the billionaires see the world differently than coaches, and the Rams want to be interesting.
Which is exactly why the billionaires should probably stay out of the football side of things.
Joy Taylor with the news.
No.